Hello, this is Evie's Best Bites in Paris, and today we're making courgette and coriander risotto. Courgette and coriander risotto. How this came about, I was actually in Paris with one of my best mates, Kate, and we were making a piece of theatre, and after a few days of going out to little bistros, we realised financially we couldn't carry on doing that, as beautiful as it may have been. So we decided to go to the food market, and it was one of the most amazing experiences of my life. There was so much energy, so many people shouting at me in French and just buzzing, all this amazing fresh produce. So we went there and we ended up, I mean, it tested my French number skills, but we ended up buying for so cheap some amazing vegetables and produce. And while we were at the herb man, we just wanted some mint, and he really overcharged us and I couldn't quite understand, but then he went, and I'll give you this, and he gave a massive bunch of coriander. So we had all these vegetables, and we then went to the supermarket, got some risotto rice, and I made this risotto, and last minute I decided to chop really finely the whole bunch of coriander and bung it in, and we made this sort of green risotto, and it was so tasty. Also, it's amazing that it's vegan and vegetarian, so it's so cheap. I mean, it's so tasty and it's so cheap. So affordable. That's how courgette and coriander risotto came about. The ingredients we've got, obviously risotto rice. I've got a bowl full of fresh coriander, courgettes, which I've diced into, cut into small dices, which I bought from the market. Then an onion, one onion chopped, some veg stock, 2 cubes, olive oil, 1 lemon, and my favourite little addition to the risotto is some toasted pine nuts, which I'm just going to toast off and sprinkle on at the end. I think they're a great addition to the top. I'm cooking for 6 people tonight for this dinner party, and I'm going to do 2 pans, one for 3 people, one for 3 people. One I'll cook with wine, and I'll add the wine at the end and then reduce it down, just to add that bit of flavour, which I personally love. But I'll have another pan going for people who don't want to have wine in their risotto, either if you don't like it, or you're pregnant, or just for religious reasons. So I've got 2 going later today. So the first thing I'm going to do is, I've got the pan boiling with water, is I'm going to get these 2 veg stock cubes into it. So one of them in there and another one in there, and just let that bubble away, and we'll use that throughout the risotto. So what I'm going to do is get that main pan onto a medium heat. Great, and then I'm just going to get enough olive oil in. You can use butter if you'd like for this, which will actually make it really thick and creamy and luxurious, but this is actually a vegan dish if you use olive oil, and I think you can do exactly the same result with olive oil. And then we're going to get those onions going. The first thing you need to do is get those onions in the pan. So get those onions in, and I'm just going to sweat those down in the pan for about 5 to 7 minutes, really on a medium heat. You don't want them too hot, or else they'll get like crispy and dark, and we want the colour of the risotto to be really white. So we want to keep it really medium heat and keep stirring them. The biggest thing that you need to keep doing is stay with it and keep stirring. That's the main thing about risotto, actually. You have to stay there. You can't just bung it in the oven and leave. You need to stay with the pan, but it will only be half an hour. Keep those onions going until they sort of get translucent and soft. The one thing you do not want in your risotto is crunchy onions. So the next thing I'm going to put in after the onions have sweat down is the risotto rice. I do a good cup per person, and if you do a good cup to each person, that will be a healthy portion. You know, they'll be able to put a little bit on their plate and then maybe a little bit more after. What you're going to do basically is coat the risotto rice in whatever olive oil there is in the pan. Once you've coated all the rice with the olive oil, you're just going to get a bit of that stock and put a ladle full in. This is where it gets fun, guys. So you're just going to let that bubble. Maybe I'll add a tiny bit more. just so that it covers the rice. And you want that bubble, you want that bubble. And this is why you've got to stay with your risotto, because you're going to keep stirring it as the stock reduces down. And you're probably going to end up doing that quite a few times. So as soon as you see the stock reduce down, get another ladle in. That's why I had that pan there ready with all the stock. So while the risotto is cooking away, I'm just going to toast the pine nuts. So get it on a medium to high heat, small pan, and just pop those in. And you just want to leave them there for a little moment, and then I'm just going to use the handle of the pan to make sure they don't burn. While that's going on, I'm just going to taste this bad boy, because you should always try your food. A few more minutes. So the second that you see they start to get that lovely little brown colour and the oil starts to come out, do you see them just starting to sweat? That's when you then want to keep them moving, keep them moving. You don't want to leave these alone, you want to stay with this. Perfect. So heat off and into your bowl, and I'll just serve those on top of the risotto right at the end. And that smell is amazing. Great. Now I'm just going to get that lemon in. Okay, so the way I'm going to make sure those pips, I'm just going to squeeze that lemon into that risotto, and you want a whole lemon in this size risotto, so that's it. Keep those pips, and again, get that in, get that in. And the juice will just go through your fingers, and keep the pips. There we go, we don't want those bad boys in our risotto. So I've got my load of coriander. I'm just literally going to chop that really fine. So squish it all up together, make a bundle, and then just keep passing the knife down. Pass it down. Make sure your fingers are tucked away. And this will be added right at the end, because we want to keep as much flavour. Otherwise the green will go a little bit dull. I mean, the flavour will still be there, but the green will go a little bit dull. So if we add it later on, it will be much stronger. So now that I've got the lemon in, that will give a really nice citrus flavour, really fresh. This would be the moment when it starts to dry and reduce down that I would get the wine in and let that reduce down right at the end, so we still keep a bit of the flavour. However, for this version, it's fine that I'm just going to do it like that, and if I need to, I'll add a little bit of stock. That's it. So instead of the wine, just a little bit of stock, final bit of stock. So for anyone doing wine, just get that wine in there. Right, then once that's reduced down, you can see, right, it starts to hold its position. There we go, like that, that's what we want. As soon as it starts holding its position, time for the courgettes. And we don't want the risotto rice too overcooked, and we also don't want the courgettes too under. That's why we cut them up nice and small. So pass that through, because you just want to really heat those courgettes through so that they're nice and soft and nice and warm. Okay, so final thing, to get that lovely green colour and that fresh, which I obviously randomly discovered putting coriander in my risotto, and we just want to pass that all the way through that risotto. Once that courgette has just softened a little bit, and then you've got this beautiful fresh green risotto. What's great about risotto is at this exact moment I can leave it, set it aside, put the pan on the side, and then all I need to do is a 2-minute heat through. And if it's a little bit dry later on, again, I just put the tiniest bit of stock, a little bit of wine, pass the liquid through it so that it gets all nice and juicy again. So there we go, it's starting to look good. There we go, pass that through. Then I'm going to turn the heat off. We're ready to rumble. So this is how I'm going to do it. Good nice spoon of risotto, and it should actually stand like that, and a nice little bit of salad. We've got our cute pine nuts. There you go, Rebecca. Amazing. Thank you. Cheers. Cheers. Thanks for coming, guys. Thanks for making me look like I've got friends.
Free dinner. Don't put that in.